Imagine being offered a better paid job, but learning that your supervisor and most of your coworkers will be men. Would the salary be enough to change your decision? For many women, employment decisions are not simply calculations about pay. They also involve workplace safety, social expectations, family conversations, and the gender composition of the workplace itself. A recent randomized study from Lahore, Pakistan, examines these pressures at the moment women decide whether to apply for a job and when they choose between competing offers. The study begins with a familiar puzzle. Women have made substantial gains in education, yet these gains have not translated into equivalent employment outcomes. In Punjab, women's labor market participation remains far below men's. The article also describes a setting in which women's work is often discussed and negotiated within households, and where mixed-gender workplaces can raise concerns about propriety, safety, and family reputation. The central question is therefore not only whether jobs exist, but whether the attributes of those jobs make women more or less willing to pursue them. Niveditha Subramanian studied this question through the Jobasan job matching platform in Lahore. Women with at least secondary education could register and receive vacancy matches by text message and telephone. More than 4,000 women initially registered. Just over 1,800 completed the full CV process, and the final field experiment sample included 582 women who matched to at least one vacancy. They were young and highly educated relative to women in Lahore overall. The average age was about 24, around two-thirds were students, and only 13% were employed at baseline. Across 5 matching rounds and 64 real vacancies, the researchers cross-randomized 3 treatments. First, some women were asked whether they had discussed their job search with their family during the previous week. This was designed to make existing family discussions salient. It did not create a new discussion, and the researcher could not observe what families had actually said. Second, some women received information about whether the vacancy had a male or female supervisor. Third, some received information about whether employees were mostly male or mostly female. The outcome was straightforward. Did the woman apply for the vacancy to which she had been matched? The clearest field experiment result appears when family job search discussions were made salient. Among those women, being told that a vacancy had a male supervisor reduced the application rate by 5 percentage points, a relative decline of nearly 57%, and this estimate was statistically significant. In a simpler alternative specification, information that a vacancy had mostly female employees increased applications by 67% among the same family salience group. That second estimate should be interpreted more cautiously because it comes from an alternative model, although the model had greater statistical power. These are large effects, but the author is careful not to overstate them. The study used the real distribution of vacancies available on the platform rather than constructing an artificial set of jobs to maximize statistical power. Application rates were low, and the field experiment was underpowered for several comparisons, especially interviews and employment. The family question also tells us only that previous discussions became more salient. It does not reveal whether women were responding to social norms, workplace safety concerns, expectations about discrimination, marriage considerations, or the preferences of parents and other elders. The researchers therefore added a survey experiment involving hypothetical job offers. 322 women compared pairs of otherwise similar jobs. When both jobs had mostly female co-workers and equal salaries, 41% chose the position with a male rather than a female supervisor. When the male supervised job paid 10,000 Pakistani rupees more per month, that proportion rose to 69%. Salary therefore mattered substantially when supervisor gender was the main difference. The pattern changed when co-workers were mostly male. At equal pay, only 24% chose a job with mostly male co-workers while holding a male supervisor constant, and 25% chose a fully male-dominated workplace over a female-dominated one. Even when the more male-dominated job paid more, the proportion choosing it remained around one-half. Taken together, the results suggest that women were more willing to accept a male supervisor than a workplace dominated by male co-workers, particularly when higher pay was offered. This distinction is important. A policy that focuses only on wages may overlook how the everyday social environment of a workplace shapes women's decisions. Yet the evidence should not be interpreted as proving that women naturally prefer segregation. Preferences are formed within institutional and social conditions, including histories of harassment, limited mobility, and unequal power. The study identifies a behavioral response to information. It cannot determine the single cause of that response. The policy implications are therefore both immediate and structural. In the short term, job platforms could provide credible information about supervisor gender, workforce composition, safety arrangements, flexible working conditions, and whether women are already employed at the organization. Such information may help women assess vacancies and discuss them with their families. Employers can also demonstrate that women will be supported through clear anti-harassment procedures, safe transport, transparent recruitment, and visible career progression. But the longer-term objective should not be to preserve gender segregation. It should be to make mixed-gender workplaces sufficiently safe, fair, and inclusive that women do not have to trade better opportunities against unacceptable social or personal risk. This study offers a valuable reminder: labor supply is not determined by salary alone. For educated women in this experiment, information about who supervised them, who worked beside them, and what family conversations were brought to mind changed the choices they made. The next question for research and policy is not merely how to move more women into available jobs, but how to transform workplaces so that women can pursue those jobs without compromising safety, dignity, or opportunity.